Frankie C has actually decided to join us today.
Oh, very kind of
He's been off and on this season. He's been off and on. When we began this year, it was supposed to be Frankie on Fridays, right? Fridays with Frankie. And Frankie has become very difficult to book for this show. So I feel lucky and fortunate and blessed, Frankie, that you actually had the 10 minutes today to spend with us, to grace us with your voice on this show.
Thank you, Frankie. So kind.
Well, come on. When the Kings are winning this much, come on, it's tough, guys. Come on, it's tough. But I always make time for you, always. And you can blame my brother who was visiting. He's in the Air Force. He's visiting. You can blame him for that last time. But the guy he wanted. I had to see my brother. What can I do?
That's fair.
10-minute phone call.
I guess.
10-minute phone call.
I guess family.
Frankie's on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. All right, Frankie, we're at the halfway point officially tonight. What's your grade for this team so far?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be an A. I mean, I don't think that anyone coming into the season, and even me, who I'm not the most pessimistic Kings fan. I try to think on the positive side, more times than not. But my prediction coming into the season was, I think, 40-42. And, tonight here we are. Kings are sitting at 22, maybe 23 end of the night. Who knows? But they are already going to railroad that preseason over of 34.5 wins. And I do think that Monte McNair and Mike Brown have done a great job with this team. And the roster has been constructed. I mean, the team right now obviously is number one in the NBA in scoring. They are a complete juggernaut on that end. And I've been impressed. And it seems like each time they've kind of gotten punched and fallen down, they lose 2 in a row to Atlanta and Los Angeles. They come right back and they win 2 games that they should win, but they win them in convincing fashion by 20-plus points. So a lot to go. A lot of seasons left to be played. There's still half the season to go, but I don't know how you can sit here on January 13th and not be happy with how they played so far, because they've been pretty impressive.
Frank, you say you tend to lean optimistic. Let's see if you're as optimistic as I am. I said to start the show today that I'm convinced that this is a legitimate playoff basketball team. I know how tight the standings are. Like you said a second ago, a lot of basketball left to be played. Despite all that, the eye test, when I watch this Kings basketball team, I look at it and I say, that's an NBA playoff basketball team right there. Are you with me? Or are you still wondering if this is some sort of mirage or fool's gold?
Well, that's something that, hearing it from people like you, Rami, and Nick, guys that have watched winning basketball teams. I mean, I have not seen the Kings win much in my years. I have not seen the Kings win be in the playoffs much in my 28 years. So I'm not really sure, but I do think from the eye test, to me, yeah. I mean, I think that they to me right now, and the players believe it too. They think that they are a playoff team, not playing playoff. I was talking to Terrence Davis today, and he said that they all think they can host a playoff game. And I don't know if he meant playoff series by that, but that's kind of where they are right now. They're towing around that 4 or 5 range. But the guys in the locker room believe it. And I think some of the fans, a portion of the fan base do too. And yeah, there's that side of the fan base that they're scarred. And how could you blame them? It's been almost 20 years and the Kings haven't even sniffed the playoffs. But right now, and everyone out there should knock on wood, pending health, they have the pieces to make a run. I mean, as long as Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox are both out there playing with this team, they're tough to stop. And they have the guys that can go out there and make life difficult for you. It was Trey Lyles the other night, 15 points in the fourth quarter. They've had Malik Monk step up time after time again. They have Kevin Huerter, who's been a huge piece of this team. It doesn't matter. On any given night, there could be a different guy that can beat you. And it's going to come down to defense, and that's the biggest thing that playoff teams have. As we know, you have to play defense to make the playoffs and win in the playoffs. The Kings need to take a step forward on that end of things. But obviously that's where Monte McNair comes into play, and Mike Brown, who's a defensive-minded coach. Can they get the pieces that will fit and kind of plug that hole? But, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this is a playoff team. And I think that myself personally, I've shifted my mindset from can this team make the play-in? I've shifted it to can this team stay in the top 6, because I've watched some wild card baseball games in my life, and they're not a fun time. And I think Kings fans would really enjoy it if they didn't have to worry about your season coming down to one game in a play-in. So I think that people should kind of raise their expectations a little bit, because the Kings have played well enough to put themselves in that conversation.
Frankie Cartoscelli with us here on Cattles and Rami. Frankie, you mentioned Trey Lyles going off in the fourth quarter on Wednesday night. Rami and I talked about this yesterday. We both think it's time for Coach Brown to settle on an 8 or 9 man rotation at this point. Do you think it's time for the coach to settle on that rotation?
Yeah, I think that's something that you could see happen in the near future, especially as we get later into the season. I don't think that Mike Brown's going to be playing 10, 11 players in March and April, but we don't know what the rotation might look like in March and April is the main problem. I mean, this team could look different. And I'm in the camp where I don't want them to make any drastic changes. I think that this team, the way it's constructed right now, I think that trading someone like Harrison Barnes away could damage the morale and damage the chemistry. But you need to upgrade the backup center spot. It's something that you absolutely have to do. If you go through the deadline without upgrading the backup center position, it's a loss of a deadline. But yeah, I mean, Trey Lyles is a guy that deserves to be in that rotation. We've seen players like Rashawn Holmes and Chimezie Metu. They come and go in the rotation, but you have your key guys. And right now, Trey Lyles has pushed himself into that conversation. He's been nailed over the past 10 games or so. I mean, I think he's been shooting around 40% from three. He's averaging around 6 rebounds per game. He had 6 rebounds and 2 blocks in the fourth quarter alone last game. And he's someone who lost weight in the offseason to be more versatile and be more active on the offensive end. And that's paid dividends for him. And he's someone that even Mike Brown has played at the backup center spot when guys like Rashawn Holmes and Chimezie Metu haven't been able to carry their own weight. So I do think that the rotation is going to be rounded out, especially if this team is in a playoff position late, because you know that many playoff teams, they don't have expansive rotations. That's something that's going to have to be consolidated as the season goes on, but got to get that backup center position figured out.
We heard already that Monte McNair was going to get an extension in early 2023. That's a vague window, early 2023. That I guess that could be anytime between now and the end of March. Do you have any idea? Have you heard any whispers how close we are to Monte McNair getting a much deserved extension? Because every day that goes by, I think Kings fans are wondering if this thing is going to get done. Yeah,
I mean, every day that goes by, Monte McNair is, that check has to get a little bigger and bigger. But I do think I'm not sure, and that's the scary thing. I'm not sure. I mean, Mark Stein, who is a lot more plugged in and has been around the game for a long time, he did have that report a couple weeks ago saying that Monte McNair was expected to get his extension. But I think the expectation that I've been hearing just around just people that know the game and have been involved with the game, they expect it to get done. Now, when will it get done? That's the question, because the Kings, as we know, they're playing winning basketball. We're not generally early in the season right now. So that price tag is going to get bigger for Monte McNair, and that's something that it kind of scares you if you're a Kings fan or someone that cares about this team, because he's such a huge hand in building this team into a winner. If he were to go on to other pastures, that's something that I think would be a pretty big loss, and especially with what he's done. So I do think it gets done. My hunch is it gets done before the end of the season. When or why it's taken this long, I can't say, but I do think that Monte McNair ends up in Sacramento for the long being.
Thanks, Frankie. We appreciate you, man. Enjoy the weekend, my friend.
Happy Friday, guys. And also, if you're coming out to the game tonight, please be safe. It's nasty. Yeah, please be safe. But hopefully we get another win tonight and finish this homestand on a high note. But thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. There goes Frankie Cartoscelli from SactownSports.com, Folsom Lake Honda Hotline, Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.